Hello children, very good morning to all of you. In last class, we learnt about what are goods, what are services, and from where do we get these goods and services, and how does these goods reach us. So for that we learned several new terms also. I hope you all remember that, and I asked you to write the meaning and learn the meaning for those particular terms also. So what are they? Retailer, wholesaler, producer or manufacturer, consumer, trade, buying and selling, exchanging. So these things, it is called as trade. Occupation. So we learned nearly 8 to 10 new terms. Children, do you all remember the meaning for that? So if you are not remembering or if you have missed the previous class, kindly look at the video which is uploaded in Skynet. Listen to that, and if you are not able to understand even that time, do please ping me and get clarified. Okay? Do not move to the next topic without thorough or without knowing the concept or without knowing what you have learned in the previous class. Okay children? So in today's class we are going to move to one more interesting topic. So this is all about what we do in our day-to-day life. Okay? It is demand and supply. It is in page number 132, and as I already said, no need to take your book, just listen to the video. If at all, if anything important or if I'm asking to underline something, that time you can pause the video and underline it, or you can watch the video fully, and then when you're reading, that time you can remember what I said, okay, and then you can underline it. So if you're doing that way, you'll not forget what you have learned and what you have listened also. If you're trying to remember what happened in the previous session or what happened in the previous class, you will definitely not forget it. Okay children, let's go to today's class about today's topic. So demand and supply. So what is demand and what is supply? Basically, demand is nothing but the urge or the amount of product, the amount of goods it is wanted by the people. The urge about the product or urge for the goods. If 10 people or if 10% they wanted to get the same product, for example apple, they wanted to purchase that, but only 5 apples are there in the market. But 10 people, they wanted to purchase apple. So it is demand for that particular product. So it is urge of or is a desire of getting a particular product or good, or you can also say the want for getting a particular product. It is known as demand. And supply. Supply is nothing but the amount of goods or the amount of products that is being supplied, or that is being sold, that is being sold. Okay? So that is wanted, that the consumer, that the producer wanted to sell it to the consumer or the customers. So supply is nothing but the amount of goods or the product that the producer wanted to sell it to the customers. That is called as supply. So this is the meaning for demand and supply. Okay children, I hope you have understood. So I'll again give you the example when we read the sentence, okay? So consumers are the people like you and me. So who are consumers? So consumers are like you and me. So we both are consumers that we go and purchase a particular product, right? So we are the consumers. So that where we wanted to satisfy the need or want. So consumer is an individual, is a person like you and me, that we go to a particular place. So where do we go? We go to a market where buying and selling is happening. That is, exchanging is happening there, right? What do we call that? Buying, selling and exchanging. It happens in a place that is called as market, and this process of buying, selling and exchanging is known as trade. Hope you all remember this. So who are producers? Producers or manufacturers are, so what example we saw in the previous class, the person who produces oranges in the orchard, his farm or his land. Who is that? The farmer. So here the farmer is the producer, he is the manufacturer. Okay, so he meets the supply for our demands. So the producer, so the farmer, he produces oranges and he sells to the customer where he meets the demand. So demand is nothing but our wants, our desire to buy a product, our need to satisfy. So about consumers and producers, we are very much clear about the meaning for these two terms in our previous class itself, no? So it's like, again, I'm brushing up what do you mean by consumers and what do you mean by producers. So producers make choices about what to sell by looking at demands people make. Okay. So how do producers produce the product? So if there is demand for a particular product in the particular area or the particular region, the manufacturers or the producers, they make that, they produce that to satisfy the demand, to sell that product, right? So why do they produce? To sell the product and to satisfy the need of the customers. So that also, this is why producers manufacture the particular product or particular good. Okay. So they also look at how many people demand or want something. So they just see randomly how many number of people they want the particular kind of product. So as I already said you, so for example, in a provision shop or in a grocery store, if there are only 5 apples and the apples are wanted by 10 people, what will the shopkeeper do? It is just a common question. Like you all can answer that. The shopkeeper will buy 5 more apples or 10 more apples and he'll keep it in the shop so that next day the customers or the consumers can come and buy that. This is the basic answer, right? Yes, so this is what he'll do. But what can he do to gain profit in it? What do you mean by profit? What can see, like if he's coming to satisfy the need of the consumers, the retailer, that is the shopkeeper. Okay. So what does he gain from that? He gets money out of it. By selling that, he gets money out of it. But he wanted to make profit from satisfying the demand of the consumers. He charges extra cost for that. If one apple costs 15 rupee, so here the product, that is apple, it is demanded. So it is wanted by many people, right? So that is 10. 5 apples are wanted by 10 people. So he increases the cost for the apple. So if the apple which is sold for rupees 15, he's charging rupees 20 for one apple, so that he can gain profit out of it. Can you understand, children? Just think, just assume the example what I said, so that you'll be very clear about what I have explained also. Next, producers then look at how much of something people demand they have. So the manufacturers, they'll not simply produce the goods in bulk. They also look at how much stock is available with them, and then he produce. So they'll just see how much of the good is needed from the people, that is from the consumers. How much of good is necessary. So likewise I said, you can think from the previous example itself, the shopkeeper or the retailer, he'll not simply go and purchase a ton of apples and he'll keep it in the shop. Will he do that? If he's doing so, no crazy person than he is there in the area. So what can he do? He can buy the limited number of apples, whereas he can buy 20 apples and keep it in the shop, whereas he can satisfy the need of consumers. The next day or the forthcoming days, because apple is needed in that area, people demands apple in that particular region. So if he sells apple, he can gain more money out of it. That's why he's doing. Okay. So the producers, they sell only the needed amount of goods to the people or the customers to satisfy their want. Okay. So next comes about the prices of goods. So this is just a said you along with the example. So the price of goods and services in a place depends on how high the demand for these in that place. So here is an example. So the demand for the price of a particular product varies according to the place, according to the region, according to the place where we live. Okay. So if we live in Kashmir, where the apples are produced or manufactured, we all know apples are vast number of apples are produced in Kashmir, right? So if we live in Kashmir, we get apples at very low cost because we don't have the transportation charge, which is from like apples being carried from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu. So the transportation cost is also added to the cost of apple. So again, let me give you an example. If 1 kg of apple costs rupees 250, but people who live in Kashmir, they get the apples, 1 kg of apples for lesser amount, which is for about 60 rupees or 70 rupees. Okay children, so why is it so expensive for us? Because we live in a very far place for where the goods or the product, it has to be manufactured or produced and carried all the way to where we live. Okay, so the distance matters. So where the transportation cost is added to the product. Next, so here in your book you have one more example. There they have said about oranges. Let me explain you that also. So if oranges are not grown in your city, they are bought to your city from outside through transportation. So the cost of transportation is also added to the price. So I gave you an example of apple. So in your book they have explained you with orange. Nothing but it's the same. Okay. The same oranges will cost less money in the village where they were grown. If people in your city stop buying oranges, the demand for it will fall. So here we live in Tamil Nadu, we live in Erode. So people who are living in Erode, if we stop buying apples, which is mostly produced in hill stations like Kashmir and Darjeeling, the north side, okay? So if we stop buying that, if we don't desire to buy apple, or if we are not in need of that particular product, it's not only apple, any product, okay, any goods, if we don't buy that, what will happen? Eventually, the price of that product will fall down. If nobody is in need of a particular product, so think about the previous example where I said you about the shopkeeper and the apples. So the shopkeeper has 5 apples in his retail store, in his grocery shop, okay? 10 people came in need of apples. So he raised the cost of the apple, where he was selling the apple for 15 rupees. Now he sold for 20 rupees. So he increased the cost of the product. So if nobody wants apple, what will he do? He somehow wanted to sell the apple, right? So in turn, he'll give the apple for 10 rupees. So the product which he was selling for 15 rupees, now he is giving it for discount where it costs 7 rupees or 10 rupees. The cost of the product is getting decreased. Okay, the price fall. Okay children, I hope you all can understand. So if people in your city stop buying oranges, the demand for it will fall. So people like us who are desired to get apples, if we stop getting that, if we stop, if we are our need for that, if it is not there, the demand for the product will fall. So this means the farmer, the wholesaler and the retailers will now charge a lower price for oranges. So this is applicable to all the products and all the goods, children. It's not only for orange or apple. I hope you are all watching news. There are so many updates about the rise of petrol price. So if you're not aware about it, kindly watch news. Ask your parents, ask your grandfather. You can read the newspaper, okay? The rise for petrol, diesel, everything. Most of the goods, the cost of the products, it has been increased comparing to previous year to this year. So why is it all happening? Because the need for the particular product is increased. The demand for the product is increased. So we all have two-wheelers. We all wanted to go in two-wheeler. So we all started to move in a very comfort zone where we wanted to go in two-wheeler, car and etc. So we all are in need to fill our two-wheelers or four-wheelers with a oil, right? So eventually we need to have petrol or diesel. So many people are in want of a particular product. So the cost of the product increases. The demand for the product is getting rise. So if we are started to use the battery vehicles or cycle instead of cars or motorbike, okay, so the price of the product will start to fall. So this is how it is applied in so many cases. I gave you an example about apple and orange, and now about vehicles. So children, I also wanted you to come up with some other examples in next class when we have our live session. So those who are keep on listening to only Skynet session, that is digital video. If time permits, or if you're comfortable to coming to live session, you can come join in live session. Just have a discussion before our final exam starts. Okay children? So now your work is to take your content book page number 132. If you're not clear about the examples or the meaning of the particular terms, the new terms, kindly pause the video, listen to once or twice, okay? Then you will automatically understand. Even after that, if you're not able to get clarified with the doubts, so kindly call me, I'll explain you. Okay? So as like usually what I'll say, you have to read it very thoroughly, complete your book back exercise because it is the last topic of this chapter. And the book back exercise, let's discuss in next class. You have to underline the hard words and write it twice and memorize the proper spelling. And if you have learned new terms, you need to know the meaning for that particular term. Okay children, so let's meet in next video. Thank you class.